The Sunday Dinner Chef will make you feel fine. Sit down, let's have a drink and enjoy the show.
Everybody, I am Tom, the Sunday Dinner Chef. Today on the podcast, there's going to be a new podcast that I'm going to be doing weekly about food. Okay. I come from a restaurant background. Also, I'm a foodie, and it's not hard to talk about because you know what? I love it. Now, as you see here, I'm also Tom Garvey, the Keto Cook. Um, I haven't got all my displays up yet, but who cares? Here we are. Um, I'm going to go back in time. Now, this I'm not going to be bashing or anything. We're just going to talk about food, how it changed up throughout the years, and we're going to go back to when I was 12 years old. I had a hot dog wagon, and how I acquired a hot dog wagon was my dad used to go to a local tavern, okay, and it was owned by two brothers. Actually, it was the family, and it was in Spotswood, New Jersey, and Benny's Tavern it was called. So way before my time, it was the father, the mother, and the two boys that ran the place. And then as I became older and to understand what was going on, it was almost like a family. Matter of fact, it was like a family because they sort of took me in and sort of showed me the ropes. And they had it was a small tavern, okay, but they also the dad was big into lunches and stuff like that. And they didn't go. I think they closed at 10 o'clock at night. I'm sorry, they closed at 10 o'clock at night, and they opened at 10. 10 to 10 is what they did. But lunchtime they had great hot dogs. They also had pastrami and corned beef sandwiches. So as a little guy going their into their place, I'm going to tell you how times have changed. Okay, they would give me a little. It was a shot glass, but they would give me beer. Okay, and I had my one beer, and I was kind of small, so I remember this. Um, and it wasn't a big deal, back then. Just it was like a little sip of it, whatever. And I'd have my peanuts and pretzels or whatever, and everything. And as I got older, I become to know the two brothers, Dave and Bob Feldbaum. Their name was not that I should be dropping names or anything else like that, but they were great friends to me even as a little guy. So what happened was Bob came to me one day. I was in there with my dad, and he made me an offer I couldn't refuse. I guess at the time. Well, you know what? Let's put it this way. I was I was sort of like walked into it because um, we always worked. My whole family, everybody in our family worked, even at young ages. So I had to get my working papers from school. Okay, so I got them, no problem, signed it. And he had this hot dog wagon. It was a Sabrett hot dog wagon. And I started out as the weather got a little warmer. Every Saturday and Sunday, I'd open up this hot dog wagon. And as time progressed throughout the summer, I was there 7 days a week. I was there, and I would start from 10 until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And back then, I guess it was like I think it was 50 cents for a hot dog, I believe, and 40 cents for a soda. Okay. Um, and then I was starting to make the different condiments. I still make them to this day. It's funny because uh, makes me laugh. I would make the onions with hot sauce, paprika, and just I had a video not too long ago that I made these onions, and people actually I would have people lining up, and I was busy, man. I was just constantly working. 10 to 2 was great. I made enough money with that. That first year, I'm a drummer. I like to play drums, as you see right here. I bought my first set of my new set of drums, my first set from working. This is getting into a little bit of how I actually got started in the restaurant business. Okay, yeah, like I said, uh, once you start cooking, it's always in the back of your mind, or you start becoming a foodie. I knew back in my earlier years. Okay, once I started watching TV, PBS was big. Justin Wilson, the Galloping Gourmet. You had Julia Childs, even Justin Wilson. I mean, it was the whole array of different people. I'm sure I'm leaving some out. But that's what I used to watch. I mean, because I was so into it. I did the hot dog wagon for a long time, and it really got my mind clicking about how this whole thing works. Uh, did I know everything? No, I didn't know everything with it. But the funny part about it was, I had a nice little following. Okay, a couple quick stories. So now I'm across the street uh, from the tavern. Okay, and next door to me in the parking lot where I was at, the next building over was what they call the Spotswood Hobby Shop, which was my favorite place to go. Had airplanes. I had a slot car track down in the basement. And that was like my hangout, when I wasn't, before I was working. And next to that was the pharmacy. So that was a good setup. You know what I mean? Go to the tavern, have a couple beers, come out, have a hot dog, look in the hobby shop, and then after you have the hot dogs, go to the pharmacy and get whatever you need to get. I'm just joking. But I would have frequent flyers would come out. Inside the tavern, okay, they actually stopped doing lunches. All right. During the week, they might have something real quick, but they weren't really set up for it. They had a really tiny kitchen in the back there, and they sort of lost their heart with it. But the hot dog wagon, we were partners with it. Okay. We would split 60-40. All right. I wish I had them. I wish I kept it. I even had a checkbook where I would do all my ordering. I would make my onions and stuff like that. Order the bread, order some bread, hot dogs, all the soda. I would buy the soda from them. So whatever I made on the soda was mine, and we split the difference to 60-40. I got 60%, they got 40%. It was their hot dog wagon, and then we became 50-50, and then went on from there. But the funny part of it was, you get these guys that come out, had a little bit too much hooch, and they would come over and ask for a hot dog. So the procedure was, you took a napkin, okay, put the napkin in your hand, took the roll out, put the roll in. I had tongs. I've been using tongs now since I was 12. I mean, it's almost like part of my hand. And then you take the bun and you'd open up the bun with the tongs, take the hot dog out and whatever condiments they want, mustard, sauerkraut, relish, okay, or them hot onions, whatever. And then you would hand it to them, and then you would take the money, give them change, and go on from there. So most people, okay, would order 2 hot dogs at a time. So this one gentleman came out, and he had a snoot full. Reminded me of Otis in Mayberry. But the funny part was, he would come out, and every day he would come out and have 2 hot dogs. So this one particular day, he's munching away and having other people, so I'm working on it. So this guy got a little indignant. He turned around and said, "Hey, how come you don't hand out napkins?" I looked at him. "What are you talking about? You don't give me no napkins. I never had a napkin." I said, "You just got done eating them," because they gave him the hot dog, on a napkin first. That's how we did it. So I had quite a few funny stories like that. But it actually taught me at a young age the work ethic, okay, and you put the time in, and you get a lot out of it. That's basically what it was. Going through that time period, foods were changing. All right, now I was born in the 50s, early 50s, and fast foods were just becoming of age. Okay, and it was naturally McDonald's was the biggest one, and not showing my age, but I mean 15 cents for a cheeseburger, which cheeseburgers became like the big deal. Prior to that, it was just a hamburger. And you would get a cheeseburger, 15 cents, and fries for 10, and you would get a milkshake for 15 cents, I believe, or some in that area. So for like 40 cents, under 50 cents, you can get a decent meal out of it. I say decent, but back then it was like, wow, I just got them. And there was no inside. You drove up, you got out, and you waited online outside, and they had these little windows there. That was pretty cool. Diners were big where I grew up. Diner, especially New Jersey. That's exactly where I grew up. There was diners just about everywhere, and each diner had their own specific, like their trademark, I guess. What it was, one had a meatloaf, another one had chili, and different ones. You would go to different ones for these different offerings that they were putting up. It was all good food. It really was. Um, Takeout was not really. I mean, they had it, okay, but not like it is today. I mean, today you DoorDash, you call up, or Uber Eats, you call up and you make your order, and somebody delivers it to your house. Things have really changed. It was almost like, how can I explain it? It was almost like a treat. Okay, come on, get in the car. We're gonna go. We're gonna go get a burger or something like that. Or Chinese food was, when I was a kid. Chinese food was very big. Once a week or once a month, I think it was, we would go and get it. Um, and just it was a different experience. So my eyes kept opening to different places and different culinary dishes, and what different ethnic groups would eat. Greeks, and we had a lot of Portuguese. We had Polish in our area, Italian. So it was in our area was a it was kind of a small, in the county itself. It was kind of small, but they had all different little ethnic groups that were all around. And it was a treat to go to these different restaurants or diners, like I said, or like McDonald's, or just to to get away to see it. Now, my mom was a great cook. She would, in fact, that's where I got the push was from her. And just to learn, watch, and see what was going on. Now, I didn't go to culinary school. I learned from the ground up. I started out once I got older. I wanted to go, okay, but it just wasn't in the cards. So my dad always would say, "Listen, you get more experience from doing it than you would, from a book." That was his philosophy, and I sort of agree with it, because you know what? That's how you learn. You're really hands on. Or going and trying to learn from a book and then trying to replicate it. Sometimes it's hard to grasp once in a while. But growing up, like I said, where I came from, then pizza. We had different pizzerias that were popping up all over the place, and you had certain ones that you would go to for. I remember it's being called a tomato pie. Okay. And that sort of intrigued me a little bit, because in the beginning, that's how you got it. It just had a little bit of cheese on it. And it was like a pan pizza type of thing. And there was 2 or 3 different places that you would get this from. One place was known for its sausage, Gildar's it was called. That was in Jamesburg, and it was, I guess, maybe 10 or 12, 14-inch pizza, but they had pans. They must have had 1,000 pans in the back. Okay, and they put olive oil up, and with the dough, make the dough, push it out into the pan, put it on, put it into the oven. But they were known for their sausage pizza. It was off the charts good. Another place in Old Bridge, Pete's Tavern. That was another great place for. It was like, I think it was a coal-fired oven, because it was really hot, and it would come out in a little charred here and there, with their toppings, and they catered it to us younger people. I'm talking, 15, 16, 17 years old. We would sit in the back, and couple boots and stuff like that, and they would bring out a pitcher of Coke or 7-Up, and then we would order a couple pies, and we call them pies. And that would be like a Friday night after a dance or something like that, because we had to be home by midnight. But yeah, it was a great time for learning different foods and different ways of eating, and I jumped into it a little bit more. So once I got away from the hot dog wagon, I became a dishwasher at a country club. And it was everybody in high school. They worked there, but I sort of took it to the other level, because a couple of older classmates from me that worked there. I was in our kitchen, and they would call me up every once in a while to like work the fryer or something like that. And that to me was a big deal. That was always watching, always learning. And I never forget one night. I believe it was a Saturday night, and they would have 2 or 3 different fairs going on. Upstairs had a ballroom, either weddings and stuff like that, and plus they had a regular dining room uh, in the country club itself, Forsgate Country Club. I'm sure it's still there. Uh, and I would go in and wash dishes. Okay, when I get there to change a shift, whatever, just from lunch getting into dinner, and you had the pots and pans and all that stuff to get in. I was like overwhelmed at first, but once you get rolling with it, and I'm always watching, seeing what was going on. So at one time, the chef, he was a German chef. He was kind of awkward to deal with because I didn't particularly understand what he was saying. But after a while, I did. And people calling out sick all the time or not showing up for work, whatever. And I got to tell you, I was the dishwasher, and I got $1.75 an hour. Okay, and I usually work 4 to 5 hours a night on the weekend. Not during a school week, I wasn't allowed to do that, but basically on the weekends until I got a little older. But one night he took the sizzle pans, okay, because they used to do a lot of beef and stuff. He took the sizzle pan, screaming hot, throws it across the room into the sink. I guess, I don't know, try to intimidate me or whatever. And boom! I mean, he had a good aim and went right into the sink. I reached down, picked it back up, and I threw it back across the room. And who the hell are you throwing this at? That's when I started getting my dander up a little bit and speaking up and talking back to people about it. And the next day, when I came in, it was a Sunday. He came in, I'm going to talk to you. Come in. He says, I'm going to start giving you a little bit more duties here. You show up, you do your job. He said, and I want you to start understanding what's going on a little bit. Thank you so much. Any more money? Not yet. So that still $1.75, but they would bring me up to the line, or they would give me like prepping duties. Okay. There again, as a young guy, they put me in the back with another friend of mine who was a clown. We were both clowns, laughing, always laughing at something. They told us to wash and dress chickens. I have no clue. I'm a dishwasher. I have no clue what they meant by dress it. I knew how to wash it. All right. Well, let's put it this way. It didn't go good for a case of chicken because I washed it the only way I knew. Ajax and a scrub brush, the whole bit. But this one guy, this guy Kenny, he had all the chickens lined up on the table with their legs crossed and little booties on them like that. And that didn't go over too well. But I mean, that's how you learn. I got reprimanded for what I did, but nobody said nothing to me. There again, very naive about it. But there again, that's how you learn. Okay. Thank God it didn't go out to anybody. Well, I couldn't imagine that. But so how food has changed. Now on my channel, I did, I'm a year, this past November I was a year on YouTube, the Sunday Dinner Chef. And I was doing a series on foods from the past. That opened up a wide range in my head here. Opened up the Rolodex of foods that we used to do. Chicken cordon bleu, okay, a lot of chicken dishes. I mean, all different ideas. I never knew that you got the salad, and I knew that, okay, but an appetizer, had no clue what an appetizer was. All right, back in that time. And then also the entree and then dessert and then coffee, and at the gate you go. But learning different appetizers and seeing how they were done. Escargot was really good. I love that. Very hard to find, and if you do, it's a lot of money these days. But then they would have a wedge salad, iceberg lettuce, ice cold. We used to take the iceberg and quarter them, the lettuce, and actually put them in ice water. Okay. Get them jokers super, super cold. Okay. And this other chef that I worked with, he would take that and he showed you drain it, put it on a rack, drain it in a walk-in box, keeping it nice and cold. And then he would have a mayonnaise based salad dressing. Okay. And what you would do is you would take the mayonnaise, okay, in the wedge, and you gently rub it into the wedge of lettuce, and that would sort of like get inside to the lettuce because that's how you got it. You got that wedge, and then what went around it, and usually he would do some in blue cheese. Okay. But the whole idea is to get it into get the mayonnaise into it at first, okay, and then top it off because then it would all sort of mix together. Uh, I learned a lot. I really did. Uh, that went by the wayside. You don't see wedge salads too much unless you go into it like somebody's bringing it back into play again. Um, Also, like I had mentioned, chicken cordon bleu. All right, I mean you don't see that too much out anymore. And it was a good dish. Okay, um, a lot of with rice pilaf. Now they have different. Today is more with the fusion kind of stuff. We'll get into that at another time in the podcast. But back in the day, twice baked potato, potato wedges. Um, I mean, going way back where you would have boiled potatoes in it, and then they would we call them red bliss. We would do is we'd peel them, little round red potatoes, peel them a little bit, um, put them in water, boil them, take them out, drain them real good, and we'd actually put them into a deep fryer. Take them out, get a little crispiness on them, and I'm talking real tiny ones here. And then also into a large saute pan, we would put them in there with some olive oil, some butter, and also with garlic, onions, a little bit of peppers, all diced up kind of small. That was a big seller back in the day. So on my channel, what I try to do is I try to replicate stuff from the past or from my recipe book of what we used to do in the different restaurants. Now, fast forwarding, okay. We had opened my family. We had opened up our own restaurant, okay, and we did seafood. Um, Lobster was the biggest seller that we've had. Okay, we did a lot of shrimp, and prime rib was the other big seller. But we did filet mignon, New York strip, naturally burgers, kids menus and stuff like that. We were open 7 days a week, and from lunch until dinner. Also, it was a bar that was open till 2 o'clock in the morning. So throughout the night, okay, we'd have a big service, 250, 350 dinners going out. And then until 2 o'clock, whatever I had left, if I had baked potatoes left over or whatever, okay, I would do something with that and sell it as a bar food, okay, $1.50, $2, whatever. That was a big draw for people, especially winding down. Usually we served until 11 o'clock. All right. But I kept the kitchen open. We break the kitchen down for any kind of heavy dinners. I mean, if I didn't have a table of 10 coming in, I would still make what was on the menu if we still had anything left. Just about every night we would sell out a lobster. Just about every night. Prime rib was a close second that we would sell out. We'd have the 7-bone prime rib. We do a bone in, bone off, king queen cut was what we would call it. We were very busy. And then I started coming up with a little bit of different ideas as far as we would take the baked potatoes, I'd skin them out, deep fry them, and then I would make like the taco potatoes and deep fried, and then put the meat on them. Actually, I would take some prime rib and slice that, put it into the potato with some cheese and green onions on it, and send that out. I think that was like $2.50. So we did well. We really did well. Just give me a little background on what else I did. Then I left the family business and I went down and I started working down at the Jersey Shore. Okay, which was phenomenal. It was busier than hell. Okay, throughout the summer and then into the winter. This one place was called the Yankee Clipper. It was in Seagirt, New Jersey. What a place! It had a panoramic view of the ocean. Here was the building, street, sand, water. That's how close we were, and it was a jumping place. It was busy. But one caveat that it did have was we'd open up, get there 10 o'clock in the morning. Then they have a lunch tray downstairs, and then upstairs was fine dining. Okay, so that would start at 5, and we would serve to 11. Everybody in the building had to be out by 12 o'clock in Seagirt. Everything had to shut down by 12 o'clock. Nobody else down there. I guess they didn't want a bunch of, um, especially along the ocean there. So that would be closed. So that was the only good option working there. But I got to tell you what, be careful what you ask for, because sometimes I got my ass handed to me as far as um, working. I mean, didn't get a chance to hit the men's room real quick, or go out and have a smoke. Back then, I was smoking, or get 2 minutes to yourself, because that's how busy the place was. So yeah, I mean, it was completely crazy. I worked in a couple Italian restaurants that I really enjoyed. I even did spend some time doing breakfast. Now, if you think working in fine dining or busy seafood place like we had, if you think they are tough, you should try a breakfast restaurant only. There was another one there again in Bricktown, because at that point I had moved down to the Jersey Shore. I worked in this one place. It was called the Holly House. It was on a point. I can't remember the name of the street. Um, this place would get slammed. Okay, from 8 o'clock in the morning till, I think they slowed down 11:30. Didn't serve lunch, just breakfast. On Sunday they would start it at 9 until 2. And I'm telling you what, I never made so many freaking pancakes in my life. I mean, we had this kitchen was amazing. Okay, um, fantastic place. But I tell you what, when you walk into something and you think you know everything, whew, boy, was I wrong. uh, it was a good way of great income, great money, for me anyway. But in the same token, though, you had to be on your toes. There was no slouching. My grandsons, my one grandson works at a restaurant, a fast food restaurant, and he's telling me, "Well, I got to go. I'll be ready to leave in a little while. Just got to go on my break." Break? What are you talking about? Break? We ain't got no breaks. I mean, we come in, and there again, that's how things have changed. So everything now is fast food. Even some restaurants that you go into, um, everything's pre-made. And you know what? It's kind of sad unless you go to a real high end restaurant, which right now nowadays is very 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 expensive. Okay, even just for the average family to go out, get away from the kitchen at home, and see people outside of your your kitchen at home, it's tough. It really is hard. Plus the prices. Now we can get into meat prices and stuff like that. On my other channel, I rail about all that stuff. This channel here is what I try to do is I try to show you different techniques, different ways that you can take restaurant quality food and make it home. Simple. It really is simple. There is some prep work. Now, if you are working during the day and come home and you want something quick and everything, well, this channel is more or less set to the theme of the weekend. That's why it's called the Sunday Dinner Chef. Even when I was working, Sunday was a big deal for me because you could see families together. Back when I was working, families would get together, come out for eat. We had a Sunday brunch at the Yankee Clipper that was beyond better than anything I've ever seen. Back in that point, okay. Back then it was $20 a person. It was $19.99 a person. It was called the Champagne Brunch. They had some musicians, musicians that would come in from New York. All right, and they would play. A guy played a fiddle, another guy played the piano, a couple horns, drummer there, whatever. And this went on from 10 until 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And they were known for their mimosas, okay, which is champagne and orange juice. And we had a omelet station, carving station. Every Saturday night before we would get done to leave, after our shift, we would put in what they call a steamship, and that's like almost like a quarter of a hind quarter of a cow. Okay, so it's big leg, big part of the leg, and we put that in the oven, 350, and that joker would cook all night long. come in the next morning. We would get there at 8:30, 9 o'clock in the morning on Sunday. Sunday was my long haul because I was the sous chef, and I would turn around and work the brunch. I was the omelet guy. Had an omelet station. We had the tall hats, and it was that was back in the time when everybody was, fat was no good. Okay, don't eat fat. Egg white omelets. What the hell? I mean, right in the middle of it. You know what I mean? We'd have a line of people coming around, and I had 4 burners going, 4 different omelets going at the same time. Don't get me wrong, I wasn't complaining. I got into it. I really enjoyed it. A couple stations down was the carving station, and then right across from the carving station was shrimp. Now we would do, I think we would do close to almost 80 pounds of shrimp to start with. Okay, we get them prepared at night as service was going on. We had a couple other guys who was prepping up for that, and that was actually just boiling off the shrimp, chilling them, and then putting them out. We had a baker, okay, that was on there. She would work Thursday until Sunday, okay, and everything was scratch made. That's how this place rolled. I mean, I'm telling you what. Back in the day, if you didn't go to a Sunday brunch at the Yankee Clipper, you were missing out. The fun part about it was, once we broke it down, we had that time from 2 o'clock until I would open up, start getting ready for the Sunday night deal. It was me and 4 other guys that worked the line, and we would open until 10 on Sunday night. But it was a long day for me. It really was. We put out a lot of food. And Sunday wasn't really that busy as far as dinner was concerned. Every once in a while we would get hammered, but the brunch was it. So we would take some of the stuff from the brunch and put it out for the dinner for fine dining at night, and with the shrimp and stuff like that. So it was quite the experience. Reason why I got out of restaurant business is because the money started falling behind. A lot of owners that were coming in. It was people, I would say, like investors, okay, were starting to buy into restaurants, and they were just in for the quick or for whatever loss that they could write off as a tax write-off. And they starting salary for a chef back then was it was close to 80,000, 100,000, okay, and then it started backing off. I mean, when it got down to 40,000 and under, that's not worth it no more. I did help out a couple other different people that were opening up different smaller restaurants and stuff. And then I just decided just to get out of it. But I never stopped cooking. I did some catering on my own, but always was around food. Always had a lot of people at my house, and we would do a lot of cooking there and experiment with different stuff. Then I got into the barbecue end of it. I enjoy barbecuing, but now I'm older now. I just turned 70, so the whole point of this channel, like I said, is to go back in time and come up with some stuff that's easy to make that people don't make anymore. Even just like mushroom. I mean, a lot of people don't like mushrooms because you know what? They never tried them. They never tried them in a different way. So I like roasted mushrooms, in the butter, garlic, and onion. Okay, on it. Finish it with parsley. Tell you, it's fantastic. Soups. I always made soups and sauces. At one point, that's what I did at the Clipper for a while. I did a lot of the sauces and a lot of the soups. Lobster bisque. Every week, I would every couple of days I'd have to make a new lobster bisque, and that was one of the bigger sellers that we've had. And as the fine dining was going on upstairs, downstairs they had a pub, and the pub downstairs was constantly going with chili and burgers. I mean, all different ways, all different types of food. Wings. That's exactly when they started selling a lot of buffalo wings. And yeah, it was quite the place. Our place back in Garvey's Pub, we rock and roll too. I mean, we had some times there that were just like completely crazy. We had a big enough room excuse me, we had a big enough room there that we could seat throughout the whole place, just about 400 people. That's a lot of people. We would have a lot of retirement communities around us, and dealing with the older folk. I can speak about that now because now I'm an older folk. It was challenging sometimes, but we did it. I mean, the food was real good. We were known for. We actually sold the place 3 times and got it back each time because they just couldn't do it. We had a place that bought it one year, and it was they tried to make it into a buffet because that's what they had, a seafood buffet and stuff like that. And they tripped and fell on their rear end. But what I'm going to try to do is with this type of podcast here is reminisce a little bit and go back and talk about different dishes that we did. I want to get into. I was telling my wife I want to start making some of the food that we used to do, and here I'll show you on here, and plus put it up as a video for the channel. I'm trying to get this channel monetized. I have quite a few subs on it, but my watch hours is down. So I'm going to try to combine it into 2 ways because I'd like to really get this thing picked up here. Now, my other channel, Tom Gorby, the Keto Cook, excuse me, that's on now about 5 years, and that's rolling around pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I do a keto lifestyle. So some of the stuff that I make on this channel, sometimes I don't eat it because I got to be careful of the high carbs or the sugar. But there's nothing wrong with my wife, and there's only 2 of us, so I don't make a lot of it. Nothing gets wasted. And most of the time she'll eat it, or I've been doing keto now for like 5 years, 6 years now. And every once in a while I'll dabble here and there. On this channel I make a lot of bread. I make a lot of dough, pizza, not that kind of dough, eating dough. Pizza. I just did a video. I made some bagels and stuff like that. So it's more stuff going back into the past. I don't know what the future holds as far as, I drives me insane because I guess I'm getting older, but I see all these different restaurants with these micro dinners. Okay. With little pieces of greens and stuff like that. That's not my cup of tea. You won't see that on this channel at all. I don't know. After you would leave there, where do you stop in a McDonald's or something before you go home? But I shouldn't be bashing anybody with that. That's their taste. That's what they like. That's fine. Steaks. I make homemade pasta. I do most of my butchering myself. I try to buy bigger pieces of meat, break them down, vacuum seal them, put them in a freezer. Because everybody says the economy is good. It's not good for me. I'm on a fixed income, and living out here in Las Vegas, things tend to be a little bit more expensive. So, it's kind of hard. So that's why I buy the way I buy. I'll buy seafood in bulk. I'll buy, I just got a deal for 1620 shrimp, okay, 5 pounds, and I got it for like $24. It's frozen. I mean, that's the only way to fly with it now, especially out here to get fresh shrimp is what they call it. When they get it in the store, it's frozen. Mark my words. We're kind of far away from any kind of water. So did some cold cuts, some sandwiches and stuff. So if you haven't, I would really appreciate it if you went over to the channel and the Sunday Dinner Chef, and hit that like and subscribe. And I'm going to try to do this weekly. I also have another podcast on the other channel, Tom's Real Food Podcast, and that's a little bit more controversial about my keto journey and stuff. This one here, I want to relax. If I can help you with stuff, some kind of like making desserts, or I tell you, if you don't go back in your mind with stuff, they're lost forever. I write stuff down. I had a couple cookbooks that I dabbled with a little bit, a lot of my recipes, and then I just drew a blank. Okay, so these are recipes and stuff that I do myself. I don't replicate anybody else's. This is how I learned how to do it, and also experience. Okay, if I don't know something, I will hunt it down and find out exactly how it's done. I'm going to bring people on, friends of mine throughout the years that I've been doing YouTube that I became pretty close with, and we're all foodies. I don't have all the answers, or my way might not be the right way, but that's good because this keeps your eyes open, keeps you moving. We After I got done work, we would close at 2, so I would have my whites on. I'd get in a car and I'd drive into the city. We're like 35 miles from the city, 40 miles from the city. But I would go into Lower Manhattan, and I love Italian food. Okay. I love any kind of Italian food that there was. And I'd go into Little Italy, and I would go into a couple of these different little places. And I would have, I call it galamad, it's squid. Okay. Everybody calls it calamari. Okay. From these guys, it's galamad. All right. They would make me special with shrimp, fried galamad, and throughout the night when I was working, I would drink Chianti. Okay, uh, but I would have it with ice because the kitchen was so hot, and it just seemed to work. Okay, rather than just drinking sodas and this and that, got my level down a little bit. In my restaurant days, I never yelled or screamed. That wasn't part of my deal. I looked at people as if I want them to look at me, all right? And I'm not going to denigrate nobody or yell at somebody for something that maybe I had something to do. You know what I'm saying? As far as where's the table, how come you're late with the table, blah blah blah. Yelling at somebody's not going to make the matter go away. So I try to ignore that kind of stuff. And the Chianti actually helped. So I would go into this one place every night or every other night, whatever, and I would sit down and enjoy myself. I'd have my fish, uh, and the manager there, manager owner, we became kind of friendly. But at first, me and him didn't click off too good. And he said, "You want hot sauce?" I said, "Well, is there any other sauce?" "Well, we got mild." And I said, "Of course I want hot sauce." Well, this stuff would come out and look purple looking. That's how hot it was, and I couldn't let on. He got mad at me for drinking Chianti with ice in it, but that's what I was used to. I mean, come on. Um, but then we became friends. He came down to our place and visited. So I got to know these people pretty well. And then going in and around Mott Street and Mott and Hester and all Little Italy. From what I understand, I haven't been there in 30 years. Okay. They say it's all gone. And very rarely do they have any places. I used to go to another place in the city called Villa Penza. Now, Villa Penza was right across the street from Ferraris. Ferraris is the place for Italian pastries, known for the cannoli and known for tiramisu and all these different sfrigadelle and all that stuff. But Villa Penza, okay, was to me the best for veal. Okay, I would go in. Actually, what they did was they the way they had the building set up, you went up a set of stairs and into the place. Everything else was just walking, and it was pretty good design the way they had it. Waiters, tuxedos with the long white aprons, and the food was fantastic. Now there was another place down on Houston Street, I believe it was, and it was called Patrici's. Now Patrici's food was fantastic, also. So there was all different places that I would go to, but I always watched, always seen how it was done, and just try to replicate it throughout the years until I got myself to the point where, bingo, here it is. Another place in New Brunswick, New Jersey. Okay, Dominic's. I don't know if it's still there or not. Okay, but the father, Dominic, uh, he would go into the city on his time off, and he would go to these different places. And he taught me this: make sure you always watch what's going on with other places and try to introduce it. May not be the same, but you can introduce it. So he would do zucchini, very light, very thinly cut, almost like a string type of thing, lightly floured into the fryer and back out again, and squeeze lemon over the top. That is to die for. Okay. Then in the city they would make this called spadini alla romano with anchovy sauce. This was fantastic. This was a block. Uh, it looked like block cheese, but it was rolled. But it was bread. Okay, it had pieces of bread that was sliced, cheese in between it, and they dredged this in egg and flour, and egg and flour. Put it in the freezer. Brought it back out again, egg and flour, until it had a thick crust on it, and it came out. small blocks, okay, and they would put 2 on a plate for an appetizer, and then they would make this anchovy sauce with capers, okay, olive oil, garlic, all right, um, some white wine, and then put in the anchovies, and the anchovies would cook down, and then put the capers in, and then put this over top of this, and then when you cut into it, you'd have the bread in there, and also with the cheese, and it would be using it. I'm telling you, well, it took me quite a few years to get that down to a science, and every once in a while, my wife knows it well because I would take her into the city also. Years later, I would take her on my tour of where I ate, and we replicated it to the point where it was really good. So, yep. If you like this, please hit the like and subscribe button. I'm going to try to continue chatting about my food experience, different recipes, different restaurants. I started to do something out here in Las Vegas. I wanted to go to, not the casinos, okay? I don't want to bring a camera in there, but some of the local places that are around where I live. And I'm telling you, there's some great restaurants out here that get overlooked, okay? When I go to a restaurant, I never bash anybody. Everybody has a bad day. So I never say, the food sucked there or anything like that. I don't do that because, you know what? It's not fair. It really isn't fair for one time that you would go in and destroy somebody's reputation. That's not me. I go in and I would talk about different things that they have, how they do it. Being a keto guy, okay, my other channel, I go to one restaurant and they know as soon as I go in, he don't eat bread or any kind of potato starches, no pasta, anything like that. So I get a nice filet mignon and all different kinds of stuff. So, all right, listen, I'm going to pull the pin on this one. I hope you appreciated this, and I hope it takes off. I really do, because you know what? Nothing better than to spend some time talking about food. So, with that said, let me see here if I'm going to be able to do this right.
The Sunday dinner chef will always care for you.